accelerator, we cater our programs for different maturity of the teams, and I think that's one of the most important criteria how we design a program, to know where the teams are at. And we have really programs for very early stage, who are like even at idea stage projects, and going up to scale up. And so that was one of the most important information to grasp in this program, where the teams are at. One of the challenge with this program, as with other programs that we did, is that the maturity is quite diverse. Of course, none of them are like very early stage that just started, but really we saw companies from very small traction, very young companies, to a more mature, like quite high traction companies, and catering a program to both ends of the spectrum is kind of a challenge. And this is why we kind of landed on a design that is really less focused on the curriculum and more focused on mentoring and just addressing specific needs of the ventures.
When we work with innovators in their programs, one of the first things we would do when they come in is also conduct a needs assessment and find out where their focus needs are. And of course, we can't promise to solve all of the challenges of each company, but we can help them in the areas that they need. So we found that there are 4 key areas where most teams were looking for support. They were around the growth planning, the financial strategy and planning, ready for investment. We also had the team element, and there was one more, which was distribution, sales and marketing. And so we found across the cohort, those were the key needs that many teams had. And we then created a program which allowed the teams to prepare content around those areas and then talk to diverse mentors who could help with those specific areas. So I think we find that approach of collecting needs and then finding the right support to meet those needs is quite valuable.
We all understood that the program we have is for Nigeria, and as we all know, Nigeria is a very unique place, and sort of things, I mean, it could be good, it could be positive or otherwise, but then there's a lot of local context that was required to actually be able to impact and help these startups to be specific. And how the mentorship session I helped was, we had a couple of guys who are either Nigerians or people who have actually run and excelled or scaled businesses in Nigeria. So this was quite helpful. To be more specific, there's a team I work with, and we're having conversations around distribution strategy, and the mentor was able to point them to specific knowledge, specific things that are required to actually, and how to think about their businesses in this way, and how to distribute and all of those things. This will not be achievable if we didn't go this route, right? If we just, it was not a case of just coming to class and learning stuff. It was more of a practical guide that you could literally start with tomorrow, and it was as practical as possible. And from early feedback, there were so many thank you for the mentors. I mean, people unconsciously just said, this is my best session ever. And those are the kind of feedback we started getting. I was super relevant to the startups. And interestingly, there were also some participants that were not based in Nigeria, who were also non-Nigerian, but running businesses in Nigeria. And we still find this very relevant to their business environment and across Africa. So I think in a way, this particular design answered those burning questions in their mind, even some that they did actually put down in the course of the need assessment.
I think there was one interesting element from the design perspective as well that may be interesting, and that's the question of competitors versus partners question. So the cohort, right, because the program was quite in a specific area, in a specific country, that means that some of the participating companies can be viewed as competitors to each other. And our design really and always encourages cooperation and support amongst these companies and teams. Yeah. And it's just interesting. It's quite a fine line how the participating teams view each other, whether as a competitor or as a potential partner that you can leverage the knowledge and really support each other. And what we saw in this cohort also is that the majority of the teams really saw this as an opportunity to support each other and be a part of an ecosystem and help each other with feedback and with knowledge. But of course, that's not true necessarily for all the companies, and that is okay. It's just a very specific thing. If the narrower the scope is, the more this can happen within a program.
There's a big opportunity for these companies, and the more successful companies have quite good partnerships and collaboration. So I think the way that the program's set up, the idea of connecting the ecosystem is very good, because the strongest companies we saw were the ones with the strongest partnerships, and many of the mentors, many of the speakers reference many different collaborations that are possible and that can help these companies and teams in their work. And to answer your question about challenge, the one thing that stood out to me during the week was the shortage of talent in the region. And I think this is specifically around tech talent in Nigeria. It was very clear to me that every company that I spoke to, and many companies in the sessions that I didn't speak to so much, they all referenced that they really struggle to get the right people into their organizations to create value. And I'm not sure if this is just unique to Nigeria. I don't think it is, based on my experience also in other parts in East Africa. So I think this is something that everyone's challenged with, and maybe somehow there's a way for the ecosystem to support with this kind of thing.
One of the major challenges with tech talents is, yes, there's no borders, but also is the issue of it's actually expensive, right? Most of these guys are competing with, as a tech talent, you literally walk into any company in Nigeria, you get hired today. And compared to a startup that is just starting, cannot even afford a basic salary. So that is really an issue. And this generally talks about funding for these startups, right? There are not so many opportunities out there for them to actually build, test, and iterate, which is very important. For startups at this stage, they need to experiment a lot, and there are not so many risk appetite investors out there that could toy with this, and these affect them all around. So the tech talent is just one of the side, even testing marketing channels, which one works and all of that. And you could see why they've not done some basic things, because they don't have the resources to do it. But one thing that's also missing that could be also connecting them to an ecosystem. So there's this thing which is in Nigeria, is most of the policymakers, most of the regulators and co are sort of dissociated from the startup. So they are making laws and policies for these guys, and they don't understand how they work.
No, absolutely, I hear you, because talent, human capital, and everything kind of like just falls under the funding umbrella. Because you could actually source the talents that you're looking for. I'm sort of quoting some of the founders of these startups, but then they cannot afford to even bring them on board. And so these are startups that are already bootstrapping. Like Sheg mentioned, some of them are just like a one-man show. And it's almost a battle between, do I just become the CEO and the accountant and the marketer, as opposed to me parting with my extra coins to hire really good talent. So that's really an area that of course is quite challenging.
I think we had 3 very important criteria. One was we were looking for speakers and mentors that can cover the 4 focus areas that we were focusing on. Again, distribution, financial strategy, growth, and team building. And so we were looking for expertise in these areas specifically. And ideally, we were looking for experts who have experience in the Nigerian context, just respecting the local nature of the program. And the third criteria was really to look for speakers and mentors who have experienced themselves, who've gone through similar struggles and challenges as our teams, so that they can share more personal experiences, because those are always the most powerful ones. So definitely they were all 3 very experienced entrepreneurs, expert, and really teachers in a way. So I think all three of them had this in them, that really genuine want to help. And that's also another thing that is very important in these programs, that we bring on people who genuinely want to support and help and really dedicated in the cause.
For me, I would say this bootcamp experience with WFP Nigeria is, I would say, enterprising,
inspiring.
I feel excited and I'm honored to be a part of the success journeys of these ventures.